After 16 years in real estate, I have been asked variations of these 4 questions from buyers and sellers over and over again. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Foltz here on beautiful Siesta Key. Now, if you're thinking about starting the buying or selling process, you probably already have these questions in your mind. So let's start with buyers. One of the most common questions I get from buyers is, when I find the right house, how quickly do I need to make an offer? And then how much should I offer? And the answer to that is, how much do you want the house? So buyers, ask yourself, would you be disappointed if somebody else ended up buying the house instead of you? If the answer is no, I really wouldn't care, then we may have some room to negotiate a little more aggressively or take a little more time making a decision. But if the answer is yes, then we really need to think about how much risk you're willing to take. There's an old saying I learned a while back, and it is time kills deals. And then there's, of course, what we know, haste makes waste. We've all heard that. So you don't want to rush into a purchase and regret it later, but you also don't want to lose a house you love because you waited too long, or you got too aggressive trying to save a few $1,000s. So as for how much to offer, well, I mean, we already know what the seller wants. That's why they listed it at that price. The real question is, again, how much do you want the house? How much risk are you willing to take that the seller might just say no and reject the offer outright, or accept a stronger offer from another buyer who comes along? Now, if I think the home is significantly overpriced, that's a different conversation. We'll look at the comparable sales, the current market conditions, what I believe the property is likely to appraise for. But if the asking price is fair, the home checks all your boxes, and you absolutely couldn't stand the thought of losing it, sometimes the best thing to do is to offer full asking price. And my job is to help you understand the risks, figure out the value, make the best decision based on your goals, and then, of course, how important that particular house is to you. Another question I hear all the time, what if the appraisal comes in low? And I mean, it can happen. Typically, with my experience in crafting an offer, it's probably not going to happen to you. Low appraisal doesn't automatically mean the deal's dead. It just means we need to look at the options. And first option is to ask the seller to reduce the price to the appraised value. Second option, buyer and seller meet somewhere in the middle, split the difference. Third option is if the seller just doesn't have the money or not willing, the buyer can bring the additional difference, make it up themselves. If no agreement can be reached, though, you're unwilling, unable to make up the difference, then we can look at terminating the contract, assuming, the contract and the contingencies allow for us to do so. So the important thing to remember, low appraisal is not catastrophic. It's just simply another negotiation point. And every situation is different. A lot of factors at play, and it just depends on really how bad both parties want to get to the table. Okay, now for my favorite commonly asked seller questions. All the time. Should I sell my current house before I buy my next one? And if finances permit, my preference is usually to buy first and then sell second. You can take your time finding the right home, move in, get settled, and then focus on selling the other property without feeling rushed. So now that scenario is not workable for you. Sometimes you can have your current home listed, purchase your next home with a sale contingency, and ideally both of those properties would close around the same time and you wouldn't need to find temporary housing. But the challenge is not every seller wants to accept a sale contingency, and it really just all depends on the market and then how desirable that house that you want is, and personal preference really of the seller and their motivation. Of course, last option, if none of those work, sell first, buy later, find temporary housing. Might not be the most desirable sometimes, but it could be the best solution. Then you can, take your time, shop for something you want. You won't have a sale contingency. You'll know exactly how much money you have to work with. Basically, the right approach just depends on your finances. And then, of course, what's going on in the market. Definitely a conversation we'll have when it's time to do a buyer consultation. And we'll just see what makes the most sense. So, okay, here's another one from sellers. What do I need to fix before selling my house? So first thing, we can price the home based on its current condition, or we can make some improvements, nothing crazy, and then we can list it. Now, if there are major issues with the home, that's a different conversation. Like if your roof is falling in, that's going to scare buyers. So let's get that fixed. But no, you don't need to redo every single one of your bathrooms, put in a new kitchen, and do your floors. We just want to present it well. We'll look at things that could be negatives. I mean, simple, paint, landscaping. Are there broken fixtures, carpet dirty, damaged screens? Do we need to clean, declutter? I make it easy. I created a home staging guide with all my years of experience. You'll have that as a reference. I give that to all of my sellers. But honestly, please talk to me before you start spending money. I beg you. I do not want you spending $30,000 just to make an extra $5,000 maybe. And of course, the goal is not to make your house perfect or brand new again. It's just to get you the highest price without spending money you don't need to spend. And there we have it. Those are my top questions I get all the time from buyers and sellers. Hopefully these answers helped if you're about to become a buyer and seller. And of course, if you're looking for a realtor in Sarasota to help guide you, please get in touch.